This is the glorious parkland of Hardwick Hall in northeast Derbyshire, a spectacular Elizabethan house built in the 1500s by Bess of Hardwick, a formidable woman of her day. Bess was an astute businesswoman who manoeuvred her way to the highest ranks of Elizabethan nobility. Over 400 years ago, she achieved a rare level of power, influence and independence for a woman of that era, second only to Elizabeth I. By the end of her life in 1608, she was the richest woman in England. The house, which is managed today by the National Trust, is filled with her rich furnishings and tapestries that have been preserved for centuries. But recently, the National Trust has been at the centre of criticism over a modern embroidery exhibit which is intended to celebrate women.
So Faye, why are you here today with WRN?
I'm here representing Women's Rights Network, the Derbyshire and Staffordshire branch. Yes, we're here at Hardwick Hall today. We're protesting an exhibition that's going on inside the hall. It's an embroidery exhibition. It's part of a commemoration of Bess of Hardwick's virtuous women embroidery, and it is itself an embroidery display with people's names, women's names are embroidered across the fabric.
And what about it has made you so angry?
Well, one of our members contacted us. She was visiting the hall, and as she was walking past this display, she noticed that there was a name that was stitched out, and when she looked a bit closer, the name was JK Rowling. So someone had stitched JK Rowling's name into the display, and then we're not sure if it was the same person or a different person has stitched over JK Rowling's name in the trans flag colours.
What about that do you find so insulting?
The imagery of a woman's name, a woman who has stood up, she's spoken out, she's received a huge amount of hate, she's extremely brave, she has done so much work other than for women's rights, her charity work, the charity she's set up and helps to run. It's actually outrageous. It's another iteration of the witch trials. It's a cancelling type of silencing effect, a chilling effect for all women who believe what JK Rowling believes in reality.
What would you like the National Trust to do?
We've said we understand that this is artwork, and we've said we don't think it should be unpicked. But what does the National Trust think about how this affects their reputation? And how do they think it will affect the legacy of what the National Trust is trying to achieve here? I think these are questions for the National Trust, and I think that they really need to consider how this affects visitors. What are the visitors thinking about when they see this, especially women?
So what will the message be from the protest today? What are they actually going to do?
The message from the protest is a visual representation of women being silenced and cancelled, erased, struck out. It's to demonstrate also that we stand with JK Rowling.
We're here from the Women's Rights Network, Derbyshire and Staffordshire, to protest the fact that something that was unique and celebratory for women has been tarnished by the creep of gender ideology. Of all the names added by the public to this inspirational art installation meant to represent and respect women, they have chosen to only disrespect the name of philanthropist and women's rights heroine JK Rowling.
I was visiting with my WI group, and I was looking at the tapestries and looked at the fifth new tapestry that had been created by the PhD student, and literally as soon as I looked at it, JK Rowling's name hit me immediately. It's eye level. It's nobody could miss it if you were looking at the names. It's directly within your vision, and just noticed that the name had been crossed out with the colours of the trans flag. And I think my first reaction was, my heart just sank, because I just thought, You know, the point of this piece, which is quite clearly displayed, is that it is a piece that is celebrating women, you know, within the context of the 4 original tapestries created for Bess of Hardwick. And so I was genuinely shocked to see it. And I think my issue is that I don't care where anybody stands on this debate. It's absolutely irrelevant what your personal feelings are. But this piece, the point of it was to celebrate women, and it just made me so completely sad that something so positive couldn't just be left to celebrate women. Somebody had to come and make a political point, and we're in this day and age, we can't just have something that celebrates women. We've got to find one woman to tear down.
Ellie, how did it go today?
Oh, we've had a really nice morning today here at Hardwick Hall. All of us from WRN Derbyshire and Staffordshire.
So what were you actually doing in there? What was the actual protest?
Well, today we held up this poster, and to symbolise that really by stitching out JK Rowling's name, they really are silencing women. And it was supposed to be a art installation about celebrating women, but by allowing her name to be stitched out and keeping it in the exhibition, they're really complicit.
What would you like the National Trust to do now?
So they could at least be honest about what's going on. Currently they've said that they're just being inclusive and showing the diversity, but that isn't the point of the installation. The point of the project was to celebrate women. And by allowing this stitching out, they are not celebrating women. They are indeed showing that they are complicit in the silencing of women.
The exhibition at Hardwick Hall is entitled Virtuous Women. And I just wanted to read out in JK Rowling's own words, her contribution to society and why we consider that JK Rowling is a virtuous woman and deserves a space on the display. She says, "I've spent the best part of 3 decades funding initiatives and donating to charities serving vulnerable women, including domestic violence shelters. The charitable trust I set up in 2000 focuses on alleviating social deprivation, with a focus on women and children, including female refugees. I've funded an initiative to help female ex-prisoners secure jobs. I helped fly professional women out of Afghanistan because they were in danger from the Taliban. I've publicly voiced my support for women's reproductive rights. I founded and fund a women-only rape crisis centre, and I've campaigned for and funded projects to help single mothers. I myself am a survivor of domestic abuse and sexual assault."
In response to our thread on X, the National Trust said, "Any contributions to the piece have been made by those who chose to take part. None of the views expressed or actions taken by participants represent the views of the National Trust, the artist, or the University of Leeds." When members of WRN Derbyshire and Staffordshire left Hardwick Hall, the stitching and the crossing out was intact. We were not involved in the later protest, which saw the removal of the crossed-out thread.